This weekend, the Post Office and the Social Security Agency will embark on a nationwide drive to swap old SASSA cards. Grant beneficiaries using the old cards are urged to go to their nearest SASSA pay points where they will receive new cards. The cards are designed to prevent illegal deductions. Post Office and SASSA employees will be deployed in over 70 venues. Now, 42 years ago, a decision was taken that would forever change the political landscape in South Africa. Hundreds of Soweto high school pupils held a meeting on the 13th of June 1976, where they decided to protest against Afrikaans as a medium of instruction at schools. 3 days later, on what is now known as Youth Day, thousands of pupils took to the streets in a peaceful protest that quickly turned violent when police opened fire with live ammunition. Hector Peterson was the first of many killed by police.
June 13, 1976 was perhaps the turning point in what became one of the bloodiest protests in South African history. Students from several Soweto high schools met and formed an action committee. They took a decision that would forever be etched in the minds of all South Africans. They decided to march against the use of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction on June 16, 1976. Thousands of pupils took to the streets in what was meant to be a peaceful protest, but violence quickly erupted after armed police met the pupils marching to Orlando Stadium. 13-year-old Hector Peterson was the first to be killed. And this photograph by Sam Nzima soon became an icon of the uprising. June 16, now known as Youth Day, marked the beginning of the Soweto uprisings. At least 23 pupils were killed that day. Riots and protests broke out throughout the country for the rest of the month. Many more lost their lives and thousands were wounded. June 16th is one of the most important days in the South African calendar, when the sacrifice of the youth during apartheid is remembered. Johannesburg.
We take a short break now, but we're back in conversation with the writers, directors and actors of a play based on the Fees and Rhodes Must Fall student movements. Do stay with us.
Land is gold.
In Ghana, the chiefs have always been king when it comes to land. Pre, during and post-colonial times. It's a weapon that's enabled them to wield political power on a continent where land and survival intertwine.
These people who acquired the land from these chiefs. So at the end of the day, I get to know that the chief has sold the land to 3 different people. And the law is there, all right, but nobody wants to go after them.
Why? Is it because they are powerful?
Well, they are our traditional rulers, our leaders, so nobody would want to throw mud at them.
How taxes impact on your investments. Coming up this week on Money Matters.
Welcome back. As we observe Youth Month, we take a look at a theatre piece which is especially relevant today. The State Theatre is showing the play The Fall, which is based on the Fees Must Fall and Rhodes Must Fall student movements. The production was put together by 7 drama graduates from the University of Cape Town. And joining us now is Tankiso Mamabolo, who plays Kawekazi, and Sizwe Sandile Mnisi, whose character is Boitoko. They both wrote and directed the play. It's such a great honor to be sitting with you guys this morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
I'll start with you. What birthed this play? It seems obvious to the next person, but what actually brought this to life?
So in the year 2015, we were all in our 4th year of university, and we were all quite heavily involved in the student protests because, you know, we understood the need for these symbols to be removed and for a curriculum that benefited all the students in the university. And at the end of 2015, we were we were left with the question of how would we then push our passions forward when it comes to issues affecting marginalized groups in South Africa. And we came up with the idea that our form of protest would now be in our work, it would be evident in our artistry. And we decided to write this play, and we didn't expect it to be so successful. We just thought it was a way of us archiving and, you know, just giving people a side of the story that they never got to see, because the media was always on the outside of the meetings,
Right.
and in the moments of impact, and never really in the quieter moments when the students came together to bond and to understand each other's struggles. So we thought we need to archive this. We need people to know how we felt, why we did what we did, why we felt it was necessary to abandon our classes and move forward and march. And now we're in 2018.
And it's so important to archive and tell these stories. But Caesar, what kind of themes do you cover? Like you rightfully mentioned, from the outside looking in, we just saw when the police brutally attacked students who were peacefully marching, whether it was in Parliament or on campus. So what kind of themes do you guys actually cover in the play?
Yeah, cool. So our play tracks the events from Rose Must Fall until Fees Must Fall and Shackville in early 2016. So we cover, we start from Rose Must Fall and you know, the call to remove the statue. Then we move into Afrophobia, which is, we call it Afrophobia and not xenophobia because it's violence directed at African nationals. So it's black on black violence. So, and then we touch on feminism, black radical feminism, which was really, it was prominent in the movement, and that in relation to patriarchy. And then after that, then we go into fees, which is another big theme in our play.
Right.
And you know, the call for free education. And then after Fees Must Fall, then we go back into Shackville and the paintings, which goes back to the theme of removing the symbols that praise colonialists. Yeah.
Thank you. So I learned a new phrase. No one sees the provocation. People only see things when they blow up. And you mentioned in the beginning of the conversation that we didn't see when you guys held your meetings. Talk us through the beginning, how it actually started. We saw the blowout, but what actually happened in the lead up?
Well, I mean, my favorite thing about being at UCT was that there was always one or two groups that were working towards a transformation at the university. So you had the Black Academics Caucus, you had Black Monday, you had Imbizo. It was groups of students. So there was already a buzz about, you know, certain things that needed to shift on campus. And so we saw the image of Kumani Makwele, who took a pota and went and threw it on the statue. And there was rage by some Cape Townians that, you know, he disrespected this figure of this man. And from our side, there was a rage that people are not seeing. How was he able to access that pota? Humans shouldn't be able to access such things, but he did because people live under such conditions. So there was issues with arrests and the university trying to sort of remove him. And so I remember we were on a shuttle on our way to drama, and we saw this stuff on Facebook. We were like, okay, it's go time. There was just a feeling that rushed over everyone that went, this is what everything has been leading towards, the conversations, the feelings of irritation.
So there wasn't even a meeting to say, okay, guys, this is what's going to go down on such a particular date. It just sort of naturally
Well, there was
happened.
a call on, you know, social media was a huge part of it. So there was a call made out. So when the video went viral, it was said, this is what is happening. This guy did this and this. And I mean, he wasn't alone. There were other students as well who had come with him to the statue on that day. But it just caught on like fire because instinctively we all understood what it meant and why he felt the need to do that. And the instinct was to rush to his side and to protect him because, you know, even if what he did was against rules, it meant something to all of us. And there were other groups as well. The black feminists were also at the forefront. They were the ones who actually made the call for the university to drop all charges. And that's when we decided to occupy the building because we said, well, A, drop the charges because what he did actually represents us, and B, we're not leaving this building until we get some sort of information about when the statue is going to be removed and other demands that include, you know, a more inclusive curriculum, a more inclusive space on campus. So it really was just yeah, it happened very organically.
Right.
And yeah.
Just hearing Dankiso describe the events and looking at what happened after that, this came at a cost. You still find that there are pupils who are locked up facing charges for what happened back in 2015.
Yeah.
Do you feel, Sizwe, that you have been let down to some extent?
Oh.
Was it worth it, would you say?
Well, personally, it was worth it because as a young black man, the movement has given me confidence in myself. It's given me pride in my blackness, in my sexuality. You know, because of the movement, I've been able to approach and to face my sexuality and myself, and to be like, okay, I'm enough. You know, as a black person, as a young person, I'm enough. And that's what happened when we were in the movement, is that we're surrounded by people who felt the same way, who felt the pain and feeling small in a space where you're supposed to be feeling at home. You know,
Right.
School is your second home. But then we were surrounded by people who felt the same way, and we, because of that, we built each other up, and you know, there was just positivity, and for me, that's what I got. And you know, people are gonna say, where's the movement right now? The movement has deteriorated. Where's the free education? People are still, imprisoned. But let's look at what we got. Let's look at the pride that we have now as young black people because of that. You know.
That is so beautiful. Okay, we're going to take a short break. We're going to continue with this theme after this. Please do stay with us. We are in conversation with the writers, directors, and performers of the play The Fall after the break.
Whether it's the recklessness of youth, a moment's loss of concentration, or an illness that takes you by surprise, let Clientele help you financially during these times. It's non-medical expense cover as a result of hospitalization. Our premium health plan pays up to 1 million rand per year and can pay up to 3,000 rand per day. It includes cover for accidental death, accidental disability, and dread disease, plus a maternity benefit. Cash to use as you wish, especially if you can't work. Our plans are affordable. It's easy to apply. No physical examinations are required. Falling down is a part of life. Getting back up is living. Get the premium help plan from Clientele. SMS PLAN to 48044 and we'll call you back. SMS now.
I was trying to explain myself to this one. Who are you? This is my brother. Where are you taking him? The man never said anything, just kept on running. Then I looked at my brother. I saw blood coming from the side of the mouth. I panicked. As that man was about to put my brother in the car, he said, "Oh, he's dead."
Welcome back. I'm in conversation with Tankiso Mamabolo, who plays Kawekazi, and Sizwe Sandile Mnisi, whose character is Buitoko from the play The Fall, which was inspired by the events of the Fees Must Fall movement, which played themselves out in 2015. Before the break, we were talking about what actually inspired and brought this play to life. Sizwe was speaking about what the Rhodes Must Fall movement gave him as a young black person in South Africa. What did it give you?
Well, you know, the worst thing about experiencing racism, structural racism in this day and age, is that sometimes it's difficult to put a name behind it because, you know, we're supposed to be free. The Student of 76, they went, they protested, and yet you still feel these things that make you feel like you don't belong somewhere. So for me, the first thing I got from the movement was the idea that I was not losing my mind. The idea that what I was actually feeling was valid. They validated me, and I was able to put words behind certain feelings I wasn't able to previously describe. And it gave me a healthy rage to want to get up and do something about it. Instead of sitting back and, you know, complaining. It made me realize that there were other people around me as well who, even if I didn't have the strength to do this for myself, there were other people who possibly needed it more. So it gave me that. It gave me confidence. It gave me comrades, you know. we would laugh at the fact that we were calling each other cadres and comrades, but it gave us a sense of belonging because you knew you weren't alone. Even at Parliament, when we were being attacked, there were people I would have seen at university once who were coming to protect me, who were, you know, showing me where to run and everything. So it gave you a sense that even though things are not great, there are always people willing to march alongside you, and, you know, makes you want to do something.
As we celebrate Youth Day, Dankiso, parallels have been drawn between your movement and the movement of 1976. And just before leaving office last year, former President Jacob Zuma announced free education for first-year students from, you know, particular backgrounds. Do you feel vindicated?
You know, there's something about government that just doesn't really make sense to me. I only know what I know. I only know life and what's happening in South Africa from the perspective of a recent graduate. So as far as his promises and as far as us looking at the youth of 76 and feeling like our own struggle matches theirs, or that, you know, we were able to get more. I'm speaking from a point of disappointment in our government. That's the only feeling I have at the moment, because, you know, promises have been made to South Africans from years ago. You know, there's people still living with outside toilets in Cape Town. There's so much that could be done that is not being done. So I'm at a point where until I see a document that says this is the plan, this is what we're going to be doing, I'm still at a point of my healthy rage.
Sizwe, same question to you.
I think we need right now a practical plan that's going to be set out. You know, promises have been made, and right now we need to see a plan happening, you know. And yes, we know that getting free education it's going to be a process, but can the process start? You know, can we start the process? It's going to be a long process, so let's start. That's what I'm saying. That let's have a practical, let's have a plan.
Let's go into the play. Kawekazi.
Yes.
What a beautiful name. I'll leave you to explain what that means and also tell us about that character and how you portray her. What were you looking to sort of portray with her?
Well, Kawe is a hero and Kawekazi is a heroine. And when we were writing this play, we didn't want to make it about, you know, 7 drama students during the movement, because that was going to be a bit boring. So we decided to look at all the prominent figures in the movement, all the voices that added and at some point shifted the conversations. So not necessarily stereotypes, but archetypes of different people you would find in the movement. And my character, because I didn't want her to just be a black radical feminist, you know, everyone has flaws. So in a moment where, you know, we're being stun grenaded, everything is happening, you won't always make the best decisions. So my character is a black radical feminist who sometimes sympathizes with the patriarchs because, you know, we have uncles, we have cousins, and it's our own character flaw as well, in that we're sometimes not able to put our foot down as black women and go, no, this is what we're saying, because we still feel connected to people. So Kawekazi leads a lot of the meetings. She's the voice of reason a lot of the time. But at the same time, she becomes a little bit faulty because she sees humanity in everyone. And in the end, she possibly starts out as the most hopeful character in terms of what's coming and looking at everything. And she sort of ties the story together for the audience. But in the end, she ends up being the most, I think, broken one. The one who has become disillusioned with everything. And we did a 60-40% ratio when we were creating our characters. So it would be mostly 60% our own stories, 40% research, other people we saw, people who actually existed. And I think my character was the closest to me, just in terms of my sensitivities during that time and my inability to just to hate and stick to hate. You know, I always tried to see the humanity in other people. But yeah, she's a leader. She's got a strength that is not your usual, I'm a black woman, I'm a strong black woman. You know, it goes deeper than that. So I really enjoy playing
Angry black woman.
Angry black woman, yeah.
Caesar, your character, We Talk, or tell us about that character.
Such a very interesting guy. We Talk represents the strong male energy in the space. He represents the patriarch, if you want to use that term. I'm using that term. He represents the patriarch. And the way I like explaining my character is that he feels like he is in a house with all the windows closed. He's suffocating. And the only way to get a breath is to break down the windows. Not to open the door, is to break it all down. Because right now it's reached a point where I feel like I'm gonna die. So in order for me to breathe and to have a voice, I'm gonna break everything down. And that's Bitoko.
There's a term that you use, healthy rage. Please unpack that for us.
Well, geez, came up with it. Yeah. But, you know, you'll find a lot of the time, especially at university, lots of predominantly black students struggle with mental health issues because of the spaces we find ourselves in, because of the families we come from versus where we go when we go to university, because of the responsibilities we have towards our families who are previously disadvantaged. And sometimes there's a rage that happens in you where you implode and where you find that there's nothing coming out of it. You wither away and you end. And that was one of my biggest fears when I was in university, that I didn't want to just be angry and be so beaten down by the system that I would end it, you know. So what the movement taught me was the art of strategizing, the art of going, what do I have? How do I impact the system using my own gift? So I'm not a politician. I'll probably be the most boring politician ever.
I doubt that, but okay.
But I'm a performer. I'm a writer. So my healthy rage comes out in my songwriting, in my playwriting, in my performing, because I won't necessarily scare people. I won't necessarily push them away to the point where they won't listen to what I have to say. But my rage will come across enough for them to want to understand why it's there. And it's just about placing it in a position where it can make changes.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us. I think the biggest takeout is either you break down or you broke open, and you guys managed to break open in such a beautiful way. Thank you very much. It was so fascinating talking to you guys this morning, and all the best with the play. We're definitely going to see it. Please bring it to Joburg. I understand it's in Pretoria, but Joburg is wanting you. We're wanting you. So.
And this is the only South African run this year.
Wow.
Going international.
We can't afford to miss this, because you guys are going to go international. You're going to blow up internationally. We need to support you before you go, like, get some home love. Thank you so much for your time this morning. That was Dankiso Mamabolo and Sizwe Sandile Mnisi, who are part of the play The Fall, which is currently showing at the State Theatre in Pretoria. You don't want to miss that. Make sure you catch it. We take a short break now. We'll be back with your headlines after this.